Hello, and welcome to the Core Dog Experience. Right here, talk Ohio State Buckeyes and college football. But before I get into it, you know what to do. Hit that like button. Please subscribe. Help a brother grow this thing out. Grew a lot in 2023. Trying to do more here in 2024. All right, we got that out the way. But still, hit that like, hit that subscribe. Let's get into today's action. Ohio State and Iowa. We gonna get into that. we gonna get into that. Alabama goes down to Vanderbilt. They go down to Vanderbilt. Alabama goes down. Week after coming off the big win over Georgia, they go into Vanderbilt and lose. Gave up 40 points to Vanderbilt, unranked team. I believe they lost to a FCS team earlier in the season. Vanderbilt put up 40 points against Bama. Should have known something was wrong with the way Georgia came back with that Bama defense. It ain't really... Number one team goes down to an unranked team. Doesn't happen often, but it happened today. Vanderbilt takes out Alabama, and Alabama for the portions, because you saw the score pop up during the game. Vanderbilt win at 13-7, 19, whatever, right? 19-7. It's like, all right, Bama they gonna come back. Second half score, Vanderbilt still leading. That's all right. This starting to get a little bit interesting. So you start switching back and forth. And Alabama could not stop Vanderbilt. There was offensively, Alabama could not stop Vanderbilt. What the little option-like stuff they were doing. Like I was saying last time, teams hate running quarterbacks, especially when they can do it well. And got just a little bit of that passing game to mix in there. Vanderbilt had that, and they ran their offense to a T. Frustrated Alabama was more physical. They're just the physicality Vanderbilt had with Alabama's defensive front. It was an amazing game to look at, because you just kept waiting. You just kept waiting for Bama to come back. To lay it down on Vanderbilt the way they laid it down on Georgia in that first half last week when they played Georgia. But every time Bama came back, they said they went up by 12. When they get the 33, they got the touchdown, begin by 12, and Alabama came right back with Ryan Williams. That's a bad boy, literally. He only 17 years old. We got our Jeremy Smith, but Ryan Williams, that's a bad boy as well. Like I said, these freshmen are coming in to play, but he brought him right back. 5-point score, about 6 minutes left to go, or 6-7 minutes left to go in the game. You say, all right, now this is it. Bama gonna lay down, lock Vanderbilt down, and get the ball back and pull it out at the end and maintain their number one ranking like they always seem to do. But something funny happened. That quarterback I can't even pronounce his name, but he made all the right reads, did enough in the passing game. Bama could not stop Vanderbilt from scoring. Every time Vanderbilt needed to score, they scored. And just hats off to them. They played their asses off and pulled off the upset over Alabama. Now, how far are they going to drop? Unranked team, they should drop. They should take a big drop. I don't care if they beat Georgia last week. Georgia didn't. They looked all right against a all right Auburn team. Ain't like they lit up Auburn, who's mediocre this year. So maybe they took a bunch out of each other last week. I don't know. Like I said, that was a thrilling game last week, and they just didn't. Neither team had the time to recuperate. Georgia had the benefit of playing at home. Bama had to go on the road, even though it's Vanderbilt. It's still on the road, and they didn't seem like they was ready to play. I said last week they talking about hyping up Jalen Milroe as the Heisman front runner. Like, he ain't do nothing. Ryan Williams won that game last week against Georgia. He got an interception and a fumble in this game against Vanderbilt. You can't give teams like that life and hope. So when they start getting that hope, they start playing that much better. They start playing above their heads, and Vanderbilt did just that. So kudos to Vanderbilt, their first win ever against the AP ranked #1 team. So hats off to them. Looking at the stands, half their fans didn't believe they was going. That stand was full of Alabama fans, and that was going to be a disappointing trip back to the homestead, because they just knew they were going to go in there and whip up on Vanderbilt. They had other ideas. And hats off to them. And how far are they going to drop? Oh, they beat Georgia last week. That's still the best win on amongst all the teams. They also got the worst loss now. They got the worst loss. They sort of cancel each other out. They ought to take a big drop. I don't care if they did beat Georgia. They need to take a big, definitely out of the, maybe drop them all the way down to 10. I don't know. We'll see how the rest of the games play out, but they should take a big drop. I don't care if they beat Georgia last week at all. They need to drop. All right. Just had to get that out the way, because that was an exciting game. I didn't think Vanderbilt was going to be able to hold on, but they did just enough. And that quarterback was phenomenal. Made all the right reads, made all the right plays. Kudos to him. Kudos to that coach. They had a game plan and stuck with it. And so kudos. That was a good game to see. All right. So I had to go a little bit out of order. Get my notes. All right. Get my notes now. All right, Ohio State. Ohio State. Not often you see the #1 team lose to an unranked team. But get my notes out now. All right, Ohio State and Iowa. Another good game. Finally, our defense. Let's start there for our defense. But our defense finally showed up to play the game at the start of the game. They ain't wait for the 2 or 3 drives into the game. They actually came ready to play, and they did their thing from the get-go. We got used to these teams on their first drives for these first few games going right down the field on our defense. And sometimes we had an opportune turnover. Folks shot themselves in the foot, but they were able to go up and down the field, and we were still able to keep them out the end zone for the most part. Today, not so much. Iowa moved it a little bit, but not the way Michigan State did last week. Not the way some of the other teams. Western Michigan went up and down. Iowa could not do that, and Ohio State, they came ready to play. Some of that may have been about Mr. Caleb and just running his mouth just a little bit too much. Just a little bit too much. We already wanted to see Ohio State come out better defensively, but him running his mouth just a little bit too much with Caleb Johnson, you don't poke the bear when they already sort of feeling taking some heat for not being as dominant as folks have been wanting them to be, and you running your mouth talking about you wouldn't have went there anyway. And he's a good back. I ain't gonna say, although he probably be behind the 2 we have currently, but that's a big boy. He's a big good back. But you don't some stuff just you don't give bulletin board material to a team of Ohio State's caliber when basically you're the whole offense. And if that defense is geared to shut you down, your offense is going to struggle. And despite all this talking to him wanting to come in to beat Ohio State, yeah, they shut you down, dog. They shut you down. He was averaging for games over about 170 yards per game. Ohio State locked him down. He had 48 yards in the first half and ended up 86, and He got his lone touchdown against a lot of the backups, but Ohio State held him in check, which what we needed to do with this particular Iowa team. Can't let them dominate the line of scrimmage and run up and down the field running the football. Defense got off to a good start, and it was our offense. Lo and behold, it was the offense that sputtered. They were moving the ball, in long drive, because Iowa's going to make you work. For the most part, Iowa's going to make you work. They got probably one of the best defenses we will see all year. And they made Ohio State work. They played their defense with the intent of making you drive the football. They don't really give up too many big plays. And Ohio State went on a time-consuming drive to get the first touchdown. And Iowa wants you to make mistakes, and Ohio State proceeded to do that the rest of the first half. First, the big INT by Will Howard. Again, he under some of his interceptions. Is he not seeing the guy, the coverage underneath? Because the second time, the guy undercut his throw and made the interception. And then, of course, the other big turnover is, oh my God, my man is human. He is human. He fumbled the ball, but that was a good defensive play. He ain't see the guy coming from the backside. He punched the ball out of Jeremiah's hand, and Iowa recovered. Else the score would have been worse after the first half. We would have went in at least 14 points. It became evident that Iowa could not stop our running game, and I'm going to touch on our O-line in a second here. But Jeremiah is human after all. He fumbled the ball. And the first thing I said after he fumbled the ball, I said, oh, boy, he going to make this up. Y'all just wait. He going to make it up. He going to do something to make us forget about that fumble. And, of course, he delivered in the second half. But your boy is human. He fumbled. As soon as he did, I said, Iowa, you may not have wanted gone and done that. He going to make y'all pay at some point in this game. He going to make y'all pay for making him fumble the ball. The Dolphins got off to a slow start. 7-0 at half. 7-0 at the half. And you know what? I wasn't concerned at all about what was going to happen in the second half, because Ohio State, for the most part, has been a second half team. I was actually more concerned last week, the Michigan State game, because Michigan State was actually moving the ball up and down the field in big chunks. Iowa, not so much. Once it became evident that Caleb wasn't going to be able to run and have his way against our defensive front, I was not really all that concerned about what Iowa was going to do in the second half, because we know, if anything, Jim Knowles has made his adjustments for second half ball, and if you don't get your stuff on Ohio State in the first half, there's a good chance you ain't going to get it in the second half. So I was not really concerned at all with this game. I was more concerned, believe it or not, with the Michigan State game, because they was moving the ball in chunks. And Iowa, not so much. Caleb he didn't have any running lanes, couldn't do anything, and I didn't feel like there's all of a sudden going to be able to open up large holes in the second half. No one's been able to do it yet against Ohio State, competition aside, and I didn't think Iowa was going to be able to do it either. Like I mentioned, the defense got off to a much better start. Unlike in previous weeks, we're like, where's the defense? No sluggish start here. Offense was still a little soft on some of those underneath throws, but you want to give up big plays to inferior receivers, and they really were inferior to our defensive backs. We really didn't fear them. That's why I don't know why we weren't playing up on some of their drives. But it's hard to complain when you shut a team out for almost three and three-thirds quarters, and they only score on your backup. So it's hard to get into the area. You start nitpicking. I don't want to be part of that but crowd I've talked about in the past. They always find something. Yeah, but for most of our defense was on point. Offense got off to a slow start. You knew it wasn't going to stay that way because it was turnovers. Remove the turnovers, Iowa really wasn't stopping us. Jeremiah, like I said, he is human. He made up for it in the second half. first the biggest play of the game, Jeremiah, and then of course it's just commonplace. I mean, are we even amazed anymore? Another one-handed grab, defensive dude draped over him in the end zone to go up 14, put us up 14-0, and like I said, he gonna make you pay. He gonna make you pay. That second half, coming out the second half, that's pretty much all Jeremiah. The big bass play, and then of course another one-handed grab, and Will Howard was on it. He had that interception, but he had some pinpoint throws during that second half there. So Jeremiah, like I said, once he fumbled, he gonna make y'all pay. He gonna make up for that fumble, make us forget he fumbled the ball. But the big takeaway from the whole game, first half, second half, that offensive line. Justin Fry earning his keep. Now, this ain't Akron, ain't Marshall, ain't Western Michigan, ain't even Michigan State. This is Iowa we talking about. Iowa is known for defense and playing some big boy ball on the defensive side of the line. They're known for their defense. They're known for their physicality, and our offensive line looked great. So none of this, inferior opponent. No, this is Iowa. They may not have an offense that's going to that's not going to scare you. But if anything, their defensive is one of the best defensive, best coached defenses in the conference, if not in the country. They bring a stout defense, and our offensive line looked great throughout the whole game. Not in the second half where they started to wear them down some. They came out making big holes for Quashan and Trevion in the first half. They showed the play. He had a big, I think it was Trevion's, when he had a big lane. They were on point with their blocking throughout the whole game. Will Howard was hardly ever pressured throughout the game. I don't think Trevion even had to pick up any blitzes. That's how clean of a pocket Will Howard was throwing from throughout the course of the game. So that offensive line is coming together. If they continue to gel, like I said, it's going to be they're going to be scary. Next week's game against Oregon, because it's going to be some testing. It's going to be some testing there. Oregon got some quick defensive, especially the defensive ends. Looking at that game with them in Michigan State the other evening, their defensive ends may cause some problems, but we'll try to get into that Oregon game a little bit later this week, leading up to the actual game. But for what we needed to see him progress to up to this point, that offensive line is starting to gel, and they looked really great against a big boy defense. Do not underestimate how good Iowa's defense is. That's a big boy defense. They bring it every time. They are well coached, and our offensive line looked great against them. Talk about Jeremiah all the time and all his great catches. Another big takeaway from this game was our other receiver who came back. He's like, remember me? I'm still here too. Emeka had him a game. And he had him some great catches, because some of those, like I said, Will Howard he's throwing some darts and he's throwing some needles, and some of those touchdown grabs Emeka was catching, he was pitting them on point. Yeah, he had that bad interception, but some of those throws Will Howard made and the catches that Emeka was able to do and hang on to, that was some pinpoint accuracy and some great catches. And Emeka's like, remember me, Jeremiah, I know he's phenomenal, he a freak, but I'm still here too. Don't sleep on me. I'm probably a first round, high second round pick my own self. I'm still here. Emeka reminded us he's still here. Just our receiver room, just how deep it is to begin with. Like I said, Carnell Tate didn't play, but Rogers stepped up. Brandon Ennis had a big catch on the fourth down thing. Both of them, Rogers and Brandon, had some catches on either third or fourth down conversions that we needed. And again, pinpoint passes by Will Howard. Getting those, he had the bad interception, but he was putting it on point throughout the game on a lot of his other throws. So Ohio State's second half team, this day was no different. 4 drives, 4 touchdowns. Yeah, 4 drives, 4 touchdowns coming out the second half. Iowa, they were leading the turnover battle after the first half. That's pretty much what kept them in the game. Second half, Iowa, their first 3 drives, 3 turnovers. Yeah, first 3 drives, 3 turnovers. And the defense was causing stuff. They were causing havoc. They were getting in the first half. They weren't getting the sacks, but you could see the pressure they were getting to them. That's like, if we get a couple touchdowns, Iowa's going to be in trouble, because as good of a running team they are, and as competent of a passer McNamara is, they couldn't block us. And like I said, we had the soft coverage. If we had a tighter coverage, they wouldn't have got off some of those first half throws. And you see in the second half, we clamped down, was getting into the backfield, causing pressure, caused him to fumble, I believe, twice, knocked the ball out of his hands, and we had the interception. Igmanosin had the interception, and it was funny when I had interception. I was like, "Damn, they gonna let that go?" Cause he just basically just threw the guy down and caught the ball. I know Igmanosin, he is aggressive with his hands and stuff, but like, they ain't gonna call that. One time they should have threw the flag on us, and they ain't called that. But of course, they showed the replay, and the ball got tipped. I'm like, oh, okay. Now it makes sense. Because once that ball get tipped, the defensive back can just do whatever they want to the receiver, and that's what Igmanosin did. They'll do with a true freshman. Igmanosin treated him like a true freshman. Just threw him to the ground, ball right in his lap. So, but yeah, until that replay, they showed the ball getting tipped at the line of scrimmage. I was like, damn, Ohio State just got away with But no, three Iowa drives to start the half, 3 turnovers, and it was caused by great aggressive defensive play. And again, you get Iowa out of their comfort zone where they have to drop back and pass. A good run blocking team, passing, not so much. The receivers aren't our receivers. They ain't like us. they ain't our receivers. And we pretty much put them on lockdown. That's why I was surprised we were playing some of the coverages we were playing, letting some of these guys open in the middle on our zones. But again, hard to nitpick and complain when you shut a team out for 3/3 of a quarter. Like I said, Caleb didn't get his touchdown until some of the backups were in there with a couple minutes left to go in the game. Would have liked to shut out, but 35-7 good for a running back that said he wants to really beat Ohio State. Again, giving us bulletin board material. Yeah, you got your touchdown, but you were held in check for the most of the game. 171 yards you averaged. You walked out of there with, wasn't for that big run at the end against some of our backups, you would have been under 50 yards most likely. So kudos to that defensive front and how we made him work for every single yard he got. And that's Ohio State. Big game next. We got even bigger still because of Vanderbilt. Who would have thought waking up this morning Alabama will go in there and lose to Vanderbilt in the fashion they did, because they could not stop Vanderbilt's offense. 40 points. I do believe he threw a interception. I didn't see the whole first half, but I think they said it was a pick six he threw. Like I said, he had a pick six. He had an interception at the least. And then, of course, great defensive play. He had Vanderbilt players strip sacked him, which led to them going up again by 12. Even after the strip sack, you're like, oh, Alabama's going to stop them. They couldn't stop him. Vanderbilt went right down there and scored a touchdown, I think. So they could not stop Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, along the offensive line, was physical, and the running quarterback gave Bama fits, just like running quarterbacks have given Ohio State fits in the past. But no, I say kudos to Vanderbilt, which is probably going to set up, depending on how the rest of the day plays out. Like as of right now, I think Washington was leading Michigan by 7. Michigan, the top 10 team. Missouri went down earlier to Texas A&M, and thinking back, Vanderbilt, they had Missouri on the ropes. I think they missed a field goal to send that game into overtime. So, surprise? Yeah, I'm surprised. I ain't going to even front. I'm surprised. Even though they have Missouri on the ropes, you figure Missouri's not Alabama. But Vanderbilt gave Missouri a really good game. And so it was in them. It was everything. A lot of stuff had to go just right. And apparently it did, because when I finally tuned in and started watching, they made all the key plays they needed to make when they needed them, which is important. And they almost tried to give it back. Like I said, Ryan Williams, that 17. I didn't know he's 17. That's literally, I say he's a bad boy. Literally, he's a bad boy. 17-year-old doing what he's doing, and he is quick. He don't take him long to get the top speed, so that's another quick dude. These freshman receivers are tearing it up. But next week. So, what do y'all think about the? How far do y'all think they gonna drop? I'm interested to see y'all's take. Bama fans, if any Bama fans on here, how far y'all think y'all deserve to drop? Georgia, I mean, that Georgia game go out the window. I'm sorry. Unranked Vanderbilt team, you gave up 40. They put up 40 on you. How far do you think you deserve to drop? Ohio State, Oregon, is that going to be a top 5 matchup? Is Oregon going to leapfrog enough folks to make that a top 5 matchup? Based on what we saw today, Iowa not ranked, but Iowa's 3-1. Their only loss was a 1-point game to Iowa State. Ohio State pretty much dominated that whole game, which folks have been wanting to see. They laid it on them like a number 3 team should to an unranked team. Because let's say Iowa is better than Vanderbilt, and what Ohio State did to Iowa. I think they ain't gonna leapfrog them over Texas. That's a no-go there, because Texas still owns that win over Michigan. So Texas is gonna be number 1. Ohio State gonna be number 2. Georgia, are they gonna let Georgia stay up there? Are they gonna let some folks leapfrog over Georgia, i.e. Oregon? Make that a top 5 matchup just for the sake of a top 5 matchup. Don't know what's going to happen with Tennessee. Think them and Arkansas are still going at it. Like I said, Michigan is at the time of this was down to Washington. Missouri already lost. So we'll see. Penn State won. Not as convincingly as you thought it would be against a UCLA team that's really trying to find their way under their new coach. So it's going to be interesting to see how far up Oregon jumps, if at all. Is Alabama going to drop below them? In my opinion, they should. They should be on the precipice of a top. I'd drop them down to number 10. They got the worst loss now, and I think that trumps that win over Georgia. They got the worst loss of the top 10. They lost to an unranked team and gave up 40 points in the process. So again, Ohio State fans, Justin Fry, the offensive line, we've been giving it to him. Giving it to him, saying he need to go. Ryan Day need to do something about him. What do y'all feel about the offensive line's performance against Iowa? This ain't Western Michigan, it ain't Akron. This is Iowa. We know they bring it. Top-notch defensive front. And Ohio State handled them. They were more physical. We won the time of possession battle, which Iowa desperately needed to win. They couldn't do it. Our defensive line dominated their offensive line, and our offensive line dominated their defensive line, like a number 3 team should be, given the talent we have across both those lines. Not only Donovan Jackson projected now, we got Seth McLaughlin's doing this thing, and Josh Simmons is we're creeping his way up draft boards. So we got an offensive line that is starting to gel. Are you guys starting to feel a little more comfortable with what Justin Fry is doing for our offensive line? We get that compliment going with our receivers, with our running backs. Maybe we get the tight ends involved just a little bit more. Maybe just give folks something else other to think about. A little bit more RPO action. We seen Will Howard. He had 10 rushes today. Still enough to keep folks honest. Because I think down by the goal line, you just can't key on Quishon and Trevion anymore, because they're showing they're letting Will Howard keep that ball on more and more as we get deeper into the year, which is good. Just something else for folks to think about. But again, this has just been an interesting week. Had some stuff we did not think was going to happen today. In particular, Alabama losing. Some of these top 10 teams losing. Missouri losing. Don't know what's going to happen with Washington. how that game's going to play out with them in Michigan. So it's going to be some interesting stuff. Going to be some movement for sure. I just interested to see what they're going to do with Bama. How far do y'all think Bama should drop? Number 10, number 9, depending on what happens with Michigan. Should Oregon, I think Oregon should jump them. Oregon has been hot, undefeated. Penn State, hot, undefeated. It's time to move up some of these Big Ten teams. Try to touch base before the Oregon game. Like I said, top 5 potential, top 5 matchup, top 6 at the least maybe. We will see how that plays out. But you know the saying, you know what's up. You know what's up. Hope you guys enjoyed this. If you do, please hit that like button. Please subscribe. Trying to grow this thing out. Like I said, do more here in 2024. And again, until next time, OHIO, go Bucks. I'm out. And Bama lost to Vandy.